Hello. Thanks for joining me. My name's Dave Paquette. I am a very irregular streamer. Not in the sense that the things I do are irregular, but the frequency in which I stream is not very scheduled. So I schedule when the time allows in my work schedule, and today happens to be one of those days. And I'll be streaming about the thing I've streamed about the most. That is the 2WeeksReady project. So, if you're not familiar with this project, this is a part of the Humanitarian Toolbox organization, and it's an app, kind of a partnership with the Washington Emergency Management Division. And the whole idea around the app is it's just something that allows us to, or makes it easier for people to uh, be ready in case of an emergency. So the idea is that it's an app that folks can install, and it gives them easy access to information about the types of hazards that might exist in their area, and gives them some guidance in terms of building up a family emergency plan, building up emergency kits. There's a whole bunch of functionality in there. A lot of it is still being spec'd out, and we're working with the Washington Emergency Management Division to uh, get that defined. They're working on some mock-ups that let us know what it is that they want in the app. So over in the repo here, we can actually get into the wireframes, and we have some Adobe XD wireframes that we work with, and these are currently being worked on still, but it gives us some idea of what it is that they're looking for with the application. What we're working on today, specifically, there's one bug or one issue that I want to tackle, and that is related to the admin app. So there's a whole bunch of working parts to this application to make it work. There's an API that's written in Azure Functions. So that's C Sharp. The functions themselves are written in C Sharp, and we use Cosmos DB as a data store to store the data for that API. We have a client-facing application. That's the app that the users will install. It's a progressive web application, a PWA, written in Vue.js. And we have an admin app that is an app that this one wouldn't have as many users. It's just a handful of people over at Washington Emergency Management Division who would be able to log in here and do things like define what emergency kits look like, what a base emergency kit looks like, and as well as define what the different hazards are. So that's what we're working on today, is that admin app. In order to run this locally, I still do need like a bunch of other things running. So I do need the API to run locally, and I need a Cosmos DB emulator. I already have that all set up. We do have documentation in each of these sections of the repo that tell you how to get those things running. It's not perfect, our documentation, but Gary Chan, a contributor to the project, is working on improving those. He has a pull request up now that has that work in progress now. So the thing that I want to work on is this issue here that I just entered today, but I've known about it for a little while. It was a leftover from when we were working on the project on a hackathon. I got like most of the functionality working for this, and this was kind of the leftover piece. So over in the admin app, we have the ability to define these hazards that show up in the client UI. I actually have the app running locally, so I can just browse to it in my browser here. And this app looks a lot better if I'm like on a phone kind of ratio. So I will just resize that here. And if I go to learn your hazards, that's the hazard info section. And it's going to list out all of the hazards that are defined. I don't have the API running, so let me go and run the API. Just spun up the API here. Azure functions are running, so now when I go back to the app and I refresh this page, it's actually going to show me the hazard info that are in my local database. Cool. So here I just have earthquake, test, and test. You'll notice that we only have like the one icon. The earthquake one is used for this TS2, and test doesn't have one at all. Also, when you click on these, there's like this media image that shows up here, and we're supposed to have the ability to put images also inside of this these before, during, and after sections. All of this information is editable by the admin through the admin app, and the piece that's missing is the ability to define these images. So this is going to be like a little bit of a weird integration thing that I'm doing between the admin app and the client app, because those images are going to be hosted in the client app. They're assets that need to ship with the client app so that the client app can display them. But the admin app needs to know about them somehow. So I have an idea how I might do that, and we'll kind of see if my idea works out here. But let's start out by just showing you now what the admin app looks like. And it's over here. This one is designed not to be on a phone. But this is the Blazor app. I have it running locally. It's configured as a Blazor server application, which means that we're not using WebAssembly here to compile the .NET code and run it in the browser. We're actually just communicating to the server, and all the C# stuff is running over on the server. This is a very low user count application. We don't expect a ton of people to be using this app, so I'm totally okay with doing Blazor server in this case. It feels like a really good use case for that programming model and deployment model. Okay, so when I come in here, I'm logged in as an admin to the app, and so I have access to this section where I can add new hazards and edit existing ones. So if I go to edit the earthquake, for example, hazard, you can see all of that info that was displayed in the UI when I was in the client app. And if I make any changes here and save it, then those changes will appear in the client app. But what's weird here is that I just have these icon and media URLs, those two images that we saw, the icon and then that like description image. They're just hard-coded into here and as like a text box, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So what I would like to do is have the ability for the admin to click a drop down and see the images that are available within the client app and select the one that they want to use. I'm not too worried about the admin app like providing the ability to upload an image. We're not quite there. If we could just have the ability to like select from the images that are available in the application, that would be fine. The admin folks are fine with like uploading images to our repo, for example, and that process seems to be working fine for them. All right, so lots going on here. Let's see if we can kind of wire it up together. And if you have any questions along the way about what I'm building, how I'm building it, hit me up in chat, and I'll try not to forget to look at chat once in a while. Okay, so where do these images live, I guess, is probably the first thing to look at. So where am I here? PowerShell. Let's take a look at this in Windows Explorer. So within our repo, we have the admin app, which lives in the admin folder. That's the Blazor app. We have the API, all those Azure functions, those live in the API folder. And then we have 2WR-app, which is the client app. Within there, there's a public folder, and within there, there's an images folder. Actually, just within public in general, but within the images folder is where these images live, the ones that I want to expose within the admin app. So in here, if I click on hazard, we can see that we have I'll switch to view the actual images here. So we can see that we have all of these nice images that we'd like to be able to use within the app. What I'm thinking is that I'm going to create a MS build task that just goes and gets the list of all of these images in this folder and spits it out into just a simple JSON file or something that the admin app can use to then render those drop downs and say, here's my list of images that the client app knows about. And if I can get that in there, then we can worry about how we render it, and so that they can preview the images too. And I have a bit of an idea about how I can do that, just with an app setting that tells us what the root URL is for that, because I can get to these when I have like even locally, I can get to those images. Let's say it was images/hazard/flood.png. if I open up my browser here and I go localhost 8080, which is where I have the app running locally, I can go images/hazards/ I forgot what it was, flood.png. So I can see that image here. So if I can just configure like what for my current environment, what the URL is, the base URL is, then I should be able to work with just these relative paths, which I should be able to get just through some kind of MS build task. I have no idea how I'm going to write that, but I do know how to search for things on the internet, so we'll start with that. I would like to actually, you know what we'll do is we'll just start with like writing a script that's going to do this. And then we'll worry about like integrating that with MS Build. So because what I want to do is just every time I build the admin app, I want it to have that updated list of here's all the images that the client app knows about, which we should be able to do by just looking up a folder and down a few folder levels. So I should be able to just like add a task in here, but we'll worry about that part in a minute. Let's just start with like writing the script. So PowerShell get list of all files in a directory recursively. PowerShell is one of those things that like I use it a bunch, but never often enough that I can remember how to use it. So I end up having to look things up. Get child item. Okay. So if I were to go, I'll just go to that folder for now. So 2WR app, public. You know what? I'm going to zoom in here so that you can see what I'm doing a little better. I won't zoom in too far. So then it gets hard for me to use. Okay, so if I did get child item, what I'm doing, dash recurse, dash file. So that gets me the list of all the files. And ultimately what I want is I want the full path of each of those files though. How do I get that? I want to like dump it into JSON or something. Shell is weak. PowerShell, get list of files with path. Full path of files in PowerShell, thank you. This looks like it will actually be pretty promising here. Oh, I do not want to paste that just as is from the internet. Thank you, terminal, for warning me. What I want to do is not give it a path just yet, and then I want to say where the extension, I'm going to assume that everything in here is in fact an image. So I actually don't need this where part, and then I'm just going to need that percent. What did this look like? Yes, I do need the percent. Okay, that's cool. Now, tricky part is I need to get all the way up to the images folder. So I don't want this part of the path. So how do I chop that part off? It's going to be different for everybody. What if we know that part's going to be the same? I get to that part of the string to chop it off. Kind of like substring thing. PowerShell string get index. Oops. Where was I? Over here. Is it dot index of? Oh, but it do index of public. That would probably be sufficient. No, I could even just do 2WR app, and then I could count it out. It's going to be a weird script, guys, but bear with me. Let's see what that tells me. 7, okay. Dollar dot full name dot substring. I'm just going to count this out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I don't know if this is going to work, but it'd be funny if it does. Plus, I already lost count of what I had said. Ah, first try. Oh, and now I just want to make sure that I get only the files. Which, I think if I go far enough up, I had that last time. File. Recurse dash file. There's my list of files. And originally now I was thinking I needed to put this in like a JSON file or something, but maybe that's not even necessary. It could just be a text file with a list of images. I don't know that I need any other information along with it, so if it's just strings, it might as well just be a text file. So in theory, I could take this, and now I need to look up the MS build part. So back to that original Google query, which I had somewhere here. Inlining a task, okay. MS build PowerShell script. It's ugly. Oh, here we go. Oh, I have to like escape all those characters and stuff on it. That's kind of weird. I mean, it's workable though. Where do I put it? So PowerShell or MS build, rebuild task. All right, so moving over to MS build. Zoom in a bit here. So in here we want to do a, what's that? Target? Build? No. Like, it's been a long time since I've done this, so I'm scratching my head a bit on where the hook is with MS Build. Before targets pre-build event. Let's see if autocomplete gets me there. Let's see if it recognizes that. I'm just gonna do a echo hello. Let's see if this does anything, because before I go and try to write that task in there, I'd like to confirm that I put it in the right place. There it is. Hello. Cool. Okay, so now we had this concept of this exec command to find the PowerShell exe first. That's interesting. Okay. I don't want to get it from system, the Winder, because when I'm running this in on the build server, it's actually not running in Windows, and we do want to support other developers on the project who might not have a Windows machine. Although we are kind of adding the PowerShell dependency, at least PowerShell core is cross-platform. This core run in MS Build. You know, the definitive way to use PowerShell from PowerShell script. Property group my script PowerShell. So where are they defining PowerShell? Right here. Interesting. What is the definitive way? So I'm going to assume it works. Let's see. Define a property group here that gets me my PowerShell script, or my PowerShell terminal, the location of it. Hello, DW. You're right, meetings are lame, but welcome back. We are stumbling our way through MS Build. I had this crazy idea to run a PowerShell script in my pre-build event to go and get a list of images and dump them out to a file so that it would be made available to my admin app. And then I realized that it's been a really long time since I have, well, that's a lot of emoji there. Don't know what that means, but cool. It's been a while since I've done any kind of MS Build level integration like this, so let's see if we can make it work. I am looking at this gist from Fear the Cowboy, the definitive guide to doing PowerShell things inside of inside MS Build. So let's see here. You still use standard exec task features. You can do this. Okay, interesting. Well, it looks like what I can do is define a target here inside my property group. It has my script defined in it, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I know what my script needs to look like. Then I need to do that to execute it. Okay. This looks reasonable. Let's see if it works. I'll be very excited. Okay, so there's my script. I don't want to execute it there. Oops. I'm missing the closing part of my target. Right? Yeah. I want to do the actual execution of the target over here. So this is going to be, instead of target name default. You know what? I don't need this target here. I'm going to move that over. The target that I'm running is over here, so copy that over here, and this is where I need to put my fancy PowerShell. So we do $PowerShell. PowerShell script can do whatever you need it to. Yes, I hope that is the case. I'm going to copy this and paste it right here. You know what? I feel like this maybe needs a comment. Gets a list of images available within the client app. That child. I feel like the casing is just wrong there. Okay. But we're not in that folder anymore, so we need to get there by doing ... slash. How do I get back that far? We go put this in here maybe. Okay, so we're currently in the admin app. Way over here. So this is where that CS proj lives. And we need to go ... So that's 2 levels of ... slash ... slash. And then we need to do 2WR app slash public slash images. Now let's see if that runs, and if it runs, then I'm going to pipe that into a file. So if I do a build, in my output, yes, I see my list of images. Amazing. Okay, let's take that and pipe it out to a file now that's just going to be like an asset that gets published here, or that is available within the app. Data? No. This thing, it can just be at the root. For now, we'll just call it client images.txt. Did I do that right? I did not do that right. How do I pipe things? Is it this way? Yep. That's the one. Nope, that's not the way. Goodness, thought I knew how to do this. It's silly. I should know how to do this. PowerShell. Pipe. Output to file. I'm not the only person who's ever done that. Googled for that thing. Yeah, I thought it was just pipe it like that. What? The pipe to out file. File path, okay. Did I think that that wasn't how that worked? So I need to pipe to out dash file and then give it a dash path. S.txt. Okay. But then the file's empty. What on earth is going on here? Does it have to do with what my script is doing? It's doing write host. Shell? Write host to file. It's weird. Write output to file path, maybe? This is not the part of this that I expected to get stuck on, by the way. But test.txt is still empty. It's not actually outputting it to my file. Super weird. Okay. Well, I mean, we could just do this, or we could just write output to the file too. I mean, we only need to do the output to the file, so what I could do is like create the file and then do out file, file path, append. I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay. Excuse the blabbering there, but what I'm going to do is say just out file. So I don't actually need to output it to console. And I'm going to say dash path client images.txt. And I'm going to tell it to append. And then I don't need this pipe at the end anymore. Let's try running that. What? No, I didn't like that at all. Why doesn't it like that is the question. I just need quotes around here. What's the deal? You're right. David West, absolutely most of software development is doing web searches for partial solutions and then trying to find a way to make that work for your particular use case. Oh, this is silly though. This is kind of driving me crazy at this point. I've got my list of files. I just want to output it. You know what? Write host worked. So I'm going to do this weird start transcript thing, even though I don't like it. So let's take a look at that option. What was it? So we do, where's the start transcript portion of this? Isn't a good resource here. Let's try this one. Start transcript. Okay. Just give it a path and then I tell it to stop when I'm done. So then in theory, this just becomes start transcript path client images.txt. And then was it stop transcript? That before I try running it. I usually have examples here. You just say stop transcript. Okay. So let's give that a try, see if it does what I'm expecting. Oh, that is not at all what I wanted. Gross. How do I put this square peg into this round hole is right. There. Back to the drawing board. Actually, maybe there's a flag here on this that tells me I probably don't want to include the header. Is that the problem? Indicates whether this command that logs the timestamp when commands are run. This isn't gonna work because this is too much stuff. I really just want to take right host and pipe it into out file. Okay, let's play around with this back over here. So if I were to do this as a string, does it still work? So if I'm doing this within a string, I think the syntax is to do like something like this. No, that's not right. Dollar, dollar dot. Ah, come on. One more try. Go back to my out file version of this thing. And undo. I guess I don't get to undo today. So I can do this as a multi-line thing now, I think. Can I? Out file. It's the trick for doing multi-line things. Is that right? Why am I so lost, guys? Okay. Can I not do PowerShell? Backtick. Okay, we'll give that a try. Oh, that's not actually what I'm trying to do, though. This is going to fail again. Where do we go from here when I'm just so close yet so far away? That's what I was thinking of doing. And. Nope. Maybe this was just a really bad idea to try to do this in PowerShell. The combination of my proficiency and trying to integrate it into MS Build. may be just a bad idea. Well, this is mostly an issue with my proficiency. Type write output to a file, or write host to a file. This shouldn't be type write host to file. Write to out file, and then the file name. Oh, they wrote a thing here. Okay, select write host. Wow, there's no way I'm pulling that much code in. I thought it was just arrow arrow. Why doesn't that work? Arrow s.txt. Can you just reference a PS file or something? I could, yes. And maybe that's what I should be doing instead. Let's try to write this as a PowerScript file. Good idea. Let's try that. Executing a PowerScript PS file is always a pain, though. Let me just try something. Write host test to. See, I really expect that to work. Why doesn't it? Do I actually need some random 6 here for some reason? Oh my goodness. No, that's not right. That is super weird. Not how I thought this worked. Whatever. Let's see, maybe we're almost there. Maybe we're closer than I thought we were. Get rid of this. We can go back to what we had. It's all just one crazy line. Apparently we do 6 that. Rebuild here just to make sure that it actually runs that task. What's it complaining about now? Oh, I got out file in here, so what I wanted was write host. Some weird encoding issue, but we're getting closer. First thing I want to do is kill that file, so delete file if exists. PowerShell. This should be an easy one, I hope. Sure. I'm going to use a variable there. I'm just going to repeat the name of my file, which is client images.txt. Huzzah. We did it. We did it. Well, I did it. We did it. A little help from DW there. All right. We finally got our list of images. Now, what I do need to do is I want this to be available within the app. So I wonder how I can read it's my little warning icon, pending edit. Right. Reload projects. Close, build. Seems to be working. Oh, what's this images out file? Oh, those are files that actually exist in my folder now because I was really struggling with that. Thank you for bearing with me. We did eventually get there. So public images, delete. Okay, so now what I want to do, get this list of images. I do a rebuild, rebuild solution. I expect that out file and test.txt will be gone now. Yes. Okay. Finally, we get to the Blazor part of what we were trying to do. Yes, it was all you. It was all you, SD. All right, we are going to head over to the page that we originally wanted to add functionality to, which is the hazard info details page. So this guy here, if we were to start with like the icon URL, for example, what I want to do is instead of this being an input, I would like to render a select list, and I want that select list to have the list of all of the images that are available to us. So how are we going to do that? I have no idea. But we have a file now that hopefully we can read from and get the information that we need. So the question is this file in the right place? Is it the right type? Do I need to make it like a resource or content? I'm thinking probably content is going to be right. And let's just see if we can like read the list first. That'll be kind of the first part of this. So here's our code section of this page where, oh, and I had actually started to pull in a list of images and I was just kind of hard coding some things for now. We probably won't even have a title. It's just going to be the actual image URL. But, or we could parse out a title from the file name. But let's see if we can load up that list. So what I want to do here is, so here we've defined this config that has the title in it, or the image list in it. Okay, so that's for we're using something called TinyMCE to edit sort of HTML on this part of the page, or on part of the page here. I will get to that in a minute. We're just going to focus on this icon URL, media URL part for now. And let's see where it is that we would go and load up that info. So thinking probably on initialized is where I'm going to go and load up the file contents. This might not be like the most efficient way to do it, but this is where I'm going to do it. So I'm going to try to do, basically just want to do a file dot, do I not have IntelliSense here? I probably need, I'm not using system.io. Is that why I don't have file? Yeah, file dot read all lines. I'll use the async version because why not? And I'm going to give it the path. So the question is, how do I get to that path from here? It's going to be client images.txt. But do I have a way to get my root folder for the actual app itself, where it's running? Let's start with just, we'll see if that actually works. So var images equals, let's see. So I've actually not had a chance to play with Blazor very much, and that's one of the things that I'm excited with this project. It gives me a chance to play around with Blazor a little bit and learn some new things. So uh, welcome on the journey, I suppose, and we'll just see what we learn as we go. It's a technology that I've been excited about since it was announced, and back when it was just an experiment. But I just haven't had the opportunity to use it in any kind of professional scenario. And it's good to give it a try now. Huh, that worked. Okay, so we got our list of images. Neat. I like it. The one thing that we're going to need to do with that, though, is we want those slashes to go the other way. We want those to be web slashes, not Windows slashes. We want the forward slash, not the backslash. But we can play around with that a little bit. At least I have my list of images. So let's make a list of strings here. So public list of string client images. We'll just make it a simple thing like that, and we're just going to say this is my client images equals, what does this return? Probably an array of string. This doesn't need to be a list, it can totally just be an array. Sense is happy with that. Now I need to look up how to render a select list because I totally have no idea. I could just guess at it and see if it is editor. It's probably not editor. I'm guessing is a bad strategy here. Let's go to the internet again. Blazor, render, drop down, or select. We'll try this one. Input select, and then we do a for each. Okay. I mean, that seems easy enough. We can get fancier with how this renders. Like I'd eventually like it to render with a preview of the image and everything, but let's just get the actual list first. And that I think will be a win in my books. So this is going to be the icon URL. Do I need an ID on here? Probably. And what I want to do, find value. Oh, it's hazard. Dot icon URL is what I'm binding to. And then I have my list of client images. And that's a image. And this is going to be at image and at image. It's just the string for now. I don't need to do any kind of manipulation on there, and I should be able to get rid of this form control, but I'm actually going to just add that there so that hopefully looks nice. We'll remove the old one. What do we think? Is this going to work? Oh, good question. So David West asking, is this WASM or server? So I went over that at the beginning, but you were in a meeting. So this is using Blazor server. In this case, we expect this to only ever have like 2 or 3 users. So I'm not too worried about like the how this thing is going to scale in terms of like load on the server and managing that. So I think that the Blazor server model here works just fine. We may decide to change that down the road, but right now it is configured as Blazor server. Good question. What do we think? Is this going to just work? Would be pretty neat if it did. Although we still need to manipulate those backslashes and forward slashes. But what do you think? Quick. Ooh, that failed. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. What object? Where? What are you talking about? What's it complaining about? Where did it crash here? It's because client images is not anything yet. Can I just initialize it to an empty array? Oh, maybe that was the problem. Nope, it's not even correct syntax. Let's see if that works. Exception. It's a real crappy error message. It's not really telling me anything. Input base. It's not giving me the info I need here to point at what the actual problem is. Although I suspect it's the component that I added. It's not pointing me in that direction, so it's not super helpful. I mean, I'll try this. I should try hot reload. I don't have that. I'm not running .NET 6 yet, so I don't expect that to work. So, I mean, it works when I comment that out, so I definitely have that input select not working. But let's put a breakpoint somewhere in here. Can I do this? Here. See if my client images is what I expect it to be. So it has my list of images, which is cool. Perfect. What does my hazard look like? Is it loaded? Hazard's there. It has an icon URL. I wonder if it's like, it shouldn't crash just because the name of the image doesn't match something that's in the list. No, that would be really bad. Something else is going on here. Input select. You know what, maybe that code I copied is like from an old version of something, of the framework. So we're gonna do, I know that we want this part. Let's try doing the bind like I did with these other ones. So I'm gonna say add bind. It is expecting at bind value equals, oh, was I missing an at here? Is that all the problem was? That'd be really annoying. That's what it was though. So silly. The code that I copied off the internet wasn't right. When will I learn? It's time for sure, right? I think so anyway. Well, nope, still failed. Come on. Really? In value hazard.icon URL. What is the problem here? Sounds easy, but it's tricky. All the characters in the right spaces. I know. Some kind of joke there about infinite number of monkeys on a keyboard. Spit out a working application. I think that's how it goes. Blah, 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 blah. This is just not a great experience at all in terms of telling me where the problem is. Complete crap. Okay, we will figure this out. I'm going to look for a different source than this one. Select box binding in Blazor. These are pages. We'll find this determined now. Input type checkbox. Do they have a select here? There's no example. It's annoying. Huh. What am I missing here? We have hazard definitely exists and icon URL is there. In fact, I could just spit it out here. Prove that it exists. But I will remove this again. Give this a try. I need to update this thing to .NET 6 to get that hot reload going because this is kind of painful doing having to restart every time here. Okay, I mean, it's there. Why can't I render an input select? What happens if I just do input select? Fires a value. So we need to do an add bind value. Okay. Don't think those are case sensitive. It doesn't even like when I do that. Laser, input select, null, reference exception. This is the sync fusion control. It's still crashing, wasn't it? I am going to, how hard could it be? .NET upgrade v6, you're welcome. You're right, it probably is really easy, it's just not what I set out to do today. I will, however, create a GitHub issue for it, so maybe you can take it on. Do that upgrade for us. Oh, this is super frustrating. Okay, I am going to take a quick break, and I'll be back in, let's call it 5 minutes. See you in a few. Hey, I'm back. Sorry about that. Just needed a quick break. But I did just notice, really frustrated by this error because it's just like not telling me what the actual problem is. And if I don't know what the problem is, how am I supposed to be able to fix it? But I did just notice, just before I came back online here, if I go back to the hazard info, it crashes when I go to this page, and all I'm trying to do is render this input select. Like, this isn't rocket surgery here. It should be pretty easy to do. And then it crashes. But I did just notice in my output log that I do get some info here. That's going to be a little bit hard for you to read, but I think it might actually give us a little bit more info that's useful. So it says invalid operation in exception. It's telling me that the input select requires a cascading parameter of type edit context. For example, you can use Microsoft, what does that say? I'm gonna have to copy this and paste it in something else because this is not at all usable. Zoom back out. I'm gonna open up Notepad. Actually, I already have Notepad open. What does this say? For example, you can use input select inside of an edit form. Okay. So I'm not inside an edit form, and I think that's my problem. I'm just inside a form like this. So this actually has to be an edit form thing, and the model here has to be set to something, which I guess would be my hazard. Do I use edit form? I think so. Okay. Now my input select, I'm thinking will actually work this time. So let's have a look. Will it though? I have not had very good luck with my predictions on when this is going to work, but let's see. Maybe I got it this time. Yes, brakes are indeed healthy. You're right. You got to jump here. Considering your V6 PR ID, I really like the deep end of the pool. Awesome. I promise I will add an issue to the repo and add the tag on there for you of good first issue. Feel free to jump in. See if you can take a crack at it. And if you need help getting up and running with it, you let me know. You know where to find me. It's a drop down. It has nothing in it, but it's a drop down. So that's something. And get rid of this now, and now we can go and put that for each back in. So we want to do for each image in client images. What was it called? Client images. I wrote it so long ago I can't even remember. We want to do option, and it's going to be add image, and the options value is also add image. And now we can do all the other stuff that I was trying to do before. So it's going to be icon URL, and I'm going to give it the class equal form class, or form control. And I will restart this. Really hoping you can do that V6 upgrade, because it would be nice to have that hot reload magic. Okay, if I can get this part to work, I'm not going to finish this PR today like I had hoped, at least not on stream, because I do need to get back to some other things. But hey, at least we got this working. So next thing I need to do now, let's see here. A couple things to tweak with this. I actually need the trailing slash on there, so I think that a couple of things. We need to go to our this client image list. I actually want a trailing that, or not the trailing, but the slash at the front. So I'm gonna go edit my CS proj here again, and I'm gonna just change this to 14 instead of 15, which is funny. And then I don't like this, but the place that I'm gonna switch the direction of those for now, the direction of those slashes is here. So I'm going to do In the place where we read it all, I'm going to do .select s.replace, and I'm going to replace backslashes with forward slashes. Array, that doesn't resolve because now I need to do it at using system.link. We would have already if we were in .NET 6 with the global usings, but hey, we'll get there eventually. Task of string, you're right, does not contain that. I need to do some parentheses around that. What I do want to show before we sign off is this actually working. Like actually flowing through to the client app is where I'm hoping to get to. So let's just have a peek here. Great. So that actually rendered with the selected value now, which is what I was hoping for. And I can pick all my different things. Now what I want to do is I'm going to come back in here, this one that's called TS2. I'm going to change this to Volcano. Volcanoes could be avoided. They are very dangerous. Okay, so I'm going to pick the volcano URL now, here. Not previewing anything here yet, but that's okay. Media URL I don't have. I'm going to save this. Hopefully it saves properly. Looks like it did. When I go back to the client app, what I'm expecting to see when I reload this is volcanoes with the volcano logo. Did it. All right. Didn't get as far as I had hoped. I still need to do that integration with TinyMCE, but I'm going to try to wrap that up later this weekend and submit a PR with this functionality. And then we can get this deployed, and the folks at Emergency Management, Washington Emergency Management Division can go and update all of the hazard info for the production version. So, or not production version, but our test version. So if I go over to GitHub, 2weeksready, and I head over to, there's a link here to the dev version. So every time we merge a PR into master, it deploys a new version of the app out to this environment. And here, when I go, we have all of the hazard infos defined that the admin folks have entered for us. And but they're all missing these logos. So if I can get this change deployed, they will actually be able to come in here and pick all the right logos and get this looking a little better than it does today. So close, and we'll hopefully get there this weekend. But that's all the time I have for now. So thanks for joining, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.